Welcome to the Crawford Booby podcast, Fantasy Six Nations picks for Gameweek 2. Here are this week's players to watch and the updated pod squad and points from the week. My first change from the initial squad was McGrath for Brown. With that, my front row didn't perform too well, but I was impressed with the French captain Guarado, who made 10 tackles and got 1 turnover. There may have to be a change here next week. The second row was also a bit disappointing, but Gray scored 5 points and impressed me again with 14 carries and a huge 28 tackles. In the back row, it was clear to see that Picamol stood out with 9 points. He ran for 62 yards on 12 carries, got man of the match, but only made 7 tackles. In the backs, the Young's gamble didn't work at scrum half. Russell played well and got an assist. Farrell was solid as usual and was unlucky not to get man of the match. Joseph barely registered and may be swapped out at some point too. Stuart Hogg was my high scoring player, racking up 2 tries with 103 metres on 12 carries. He also had man of the match, which ensured that he was a must have for week 1. He was also the second of my changes to the team. North performed well with a great solo effort and a try, but he did seem to pick up a dead leg, so may be questionable for next week. Vakatawa really impressed me with his busy attitude, and he gained 126 metres on 18 carries, so I'll be interested to see how he fares next week. My total was 80 points, and this ranked me in the top 34k. Not bad, and I feel I could still make an impact on the top 10k. Let's go to players to watch. Jonathan Davies was my first player to watch. He got a try and assist. He also racked up 80 metres on 15 carries and could potentially be a good swap for Joseph. Kevin Gordon, French back row, got 7 points, but he made 12 tackles in the game, got 1 turnover and 1 assist. He didn't shine, but I think he has potential to perform well in the Six Nations. Stuart Hogg was obviously the man to watch with 19 points, 103 metres gained, 12 carries, a try and a man of the match. He's definitely cemented his place and probably cemented a place in the British Lions. Looking ahead to Game Week 2, Italy play Ireland, so I may want to try and get a few more Irish players in this week, as I still feel Italy are in a developmental stage. Wales play England, which will be quite tough. I'd give the edge to England, and France play Scotland, which would be an interesting match to see as both teams performed fairly well last week. So here are my changes for Game Week 2. Again, these may change later on in the week, and I'll give you an update on the Crawford Booby podcast Facebook page. My first change is in the front row. Fagerson comes in for McGrath. Fagerson played particularly well and was very busy in the Scotland-Ireland match. He had made 17 tackles and got 1 turnover. The rest of the pack remains unchanged. In the backs, Murray comes in at 9 for Youngs. Murray had a huge number of passes, 135 last week, and I feel that this week he'll be able to turn the screw even more on his opposition. Jonathan Davies comes into the centres to join Owen Farrell. I'm going to keep George North for the moment, but Scott Spedding from France, who got 120 metres and 10 carries, may come in depending on how I feel when the teams are released. So that's the team for this week. You could also join the Fantasy Rugby ESPN League. Our pin's on the screen now, and we'll be discussing more about the teams on the Crawford Booby podcast. Also, this week, it's been announced that the winner of our particular league will win a £100 Nando's voucher. So get involved.